Welcome to Triumph and Disaster, a show dedicated to manly creativity and culture. Brought to you by your host, Cameron McHarg.
Hey guys, it's Cameron McHarg, and this week's episode of Triumph and Disaster is brought to you by Tornbergphotography.com. So Tornbergphotography.com or Tornbergheadshots.com. You could check out either one. And just to mention Triumph and Disaster, you get 10% off. So just so you know a little bit about her, Maria Tornberg was an international model and actress who started when she was 15 years old. And she became a photographer herself and became one of the most sought-after headshot photographers in Los Angeles for actors. And then in recent years, things got a little bit different, obviously. So you're pretty much doesn't matter who you are or what you do, you need a good shot, whether it's for your social media, for your dating site, whether it's if you're a real estate agent or a lawyer or whatever. She's had real estate agencies and startup companies hire her to do all their employee photos, for example. And she's been doing a lot of social media photos and for people's Tinder accounts even. She does it all. So Tornbergphotography.com, Tornbergheadshots.com. Just call her, email her, mention Triumph and Disaster, and she'll make sure to get you 10% off and take care of you. Okay, so continuing this week with our shout-outs, which is something I'd like to continue doing. So if you give any kind of a donation, if you go to Triumph and Disaster blog, there are PayPal buttons on every blog. And if you donate or if you go to iTunes and leave a quick rating and review, and if you don't say you're anonymous, I would be happy to shout your names out. So this week I don't have real names again. I have internet handles. So just give me your real names next time, you guys. You can email me at triumphanddisasterblog@gmail.com if I don't get it right or if I don't get your name or if you have anything else you want to tell me, I'll make sure to get back to you. But just want to thank Amanda Newt, C1 DeLeon, and filmmaker Adam this week for leaving reviews and leaving donations. Thanks, you guys. You guys really kind of keep the show going, and I really appreciate it. So this week, Eric Curtis, fucking amazing photographer. He does something like I've never seen anybody do before. He's kind of, I don't want to like pigeonhole him or label it, but it's sort of like this crazy surreal comedy storytelling with like a touch of melancholy. You have to see his stuff. If you go to triumphanddisasterblog.com, I'll put links and examples, and make sure to follow him on Instagram. His Instagram is really, really cool. He authored the photos and books called Fallen Superheroes, which is really funny. And another one with Doug Jones, a former guest, called Mime Very Own Book. Mime like Marcel Marceau, M-I-M-E, Mime Very Own Book. That was actually co-authored, both of those, by another friend of mine, Scott Allen Perry, who I hope to get on the show. So, Scott, another call out to you, man. Eric Curtis, amazing guy, amazing photographer, amazing artist. Hope you enjoy the show. Triumph and Disaster. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and we've been talking for a little while to do this, and we actually literally met about 5 minutes ago.
Totally, right?
So we're just going to take it from here, but and I'm sure, I'll do a little intro and talk about you a little bit, and on the blog, it's Triumph and Disaster blog.com. I'm going to put a bunch of your stuff up. But I think, dude, you have, first of all, I'm a huge fan of your stuff.
Thank you. I didn't even...
Yeah, no, from afar, right? There's probably, I'm sure there are others, but you have, it's interesting. I think when I'm looking at one of your things right now from the Fallen Superheroes. So everybody's going to see examples of this, but I think you've kind of created a photo genre, dude. It's sort of like comedy photography in a way, but it's so fucking, it's so cinematic and rich and deep and beautiful. It's really, it's super eye candy. When you guys see example, what's your website called?
My website is ericcurtisphoto.com. That's ERICCURTISPHOTO.com.
So you'll be able to see everything. You only see mine. I'll probably have half a dozen things or something. You see everything.
And I switch out the images time to time. And
oh, you do? You kind of
add stuff, get rid of stuff, and
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Different, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody do anything like you before. And that's, I don't know how else to describe it, but that, I guess. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, there's a technique called overpowering daylight.
Yeah.
And that's what this photo technique is. It's basically having photo strobe lights that are far more powerful than the sunlight, for, one flash, 1/1000th of a second.
Super quick.
And so you can basically create worlds that you would unable to do with just available light or even like some film lights, because they're just simply not powerful enough for one frame of imagery, And so basically I can make a day look like dusk or night by just severely underexposing the background,
right,
compensating the subject in the foreground with these strobes. And it kind of gives a purposefully surreal.
Yeah, very surreal.
And it almost looks like people think that you have superimposed or comped in the subjects and everything's Photoshop, which is a compliment.
Yeah,
because it's not. It's practical photography. The clouds aren't fake and such. And my favorite thing, the only thing that's not necessarily very real, is I do a lot of color correction. So I like skies to be teal and instead of just sky blue and whatnot. But I do alter color to some degree, not like overwhelmingly. So it looks like we're on Earth.
Sort of.
Yeah.
In a cartoony almost.
Yeah.
We're looking at an example of the fallen superheroes, and it's like a background with like an old seedy motel from like the 50s or something. And it almost looks... See, I love this so much, man. It looks... The background looks like a vintage photo. And then you got this... Is that Scott Perry, by the way?
That is Scott Allen Perry.
Scott Allen Perry. What's that superhero called right there? He's like in a purple outfit.
Scott Allen Perry, who never ever gets enough credit for his major contribution. I would say his contribution, like to mine, is 50-50. There's we did in a lot of ways he did more work, because he's super talented in coming up with costume ideas. So me and him would sit there over a bottle of whiskey and hash out and argue over.
All right, so our battery actually died. We caught it right after he said shooting lasers. So we're back. So you're talking about how you and Scott.
Yeah, so me and Scott, we can talk about a little bit later how we found subjects to be part of the fallen superheroes. But once we found a subject to be one of the fallen superheroes, then we had to like figure out, like I said, the attributes. Can he shoot lasers? Can he fly? Invincibility, turn into water, whatnot. But then there's also flaws, obviously, with each superhero.
Mostly, probably.
Yeah, because it's kind of like slightly like a metaphor to LA and acting. It's like some people might, be very beautiful, but then also have some sort of really bad rash when they get nervous, which makes it so that they can't do auditions, or battered like wife syndrome, alcoholism, or some sort of flaw that is like holding them back from greatness. And only a couple of superheroes, Superman, Iron Man, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and such, reach that high level.
Get past there.
There's a lot of people try, and some people gain or almost there, but
or they were there briefly and fall.
Yeah, these are people who were there or were never there, but their attempts to get there is the story that we told, basically.
And these are really funny, and I can actually see. I can actually see Scott's influence. He's a mutual friend of ours. Actually, you know what? I talked about him with Doug Jones. We're mutual friends as well. And Doug Jones, you did a book with him.
Yes, me and Scott actually did a book with Doug Jones.
So we'll get into that in just a minute.
Book, yeah.
But I think it's inevitable. Hey, Perry, we're going to have to do this show, apparently.
Yeah,
we've been sort of estranged for a long time, and we need to get back together and do it.
Yeah, he comes in. He lives in New Orleans, and he comes in, and when he does, him and his brother, the Ponce Man, stay at my house.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, so
he's doing pretty well in Louisiana, though, right? He's acting a lot and stuff.
Yeah,
over there.
directing, and I shot a project with him. He did a TV show pilot for it was for Hulu, I believe. It was a grocery store comedy, and we'll see if that gets off the air. But no, Scott has a very unique brand of comedy.
Yeah,
very distinctive.
Absolutely,
very deliberate.
He's a really intelligent guy. Actually, you know what? We're talking so much about him. He's not here, but I don't know if he has a website or whatever. But he's all over your books, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that up on the blog.
ScottAllenPerry.com or thesap.com.
I'll put those up on your post.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Look at that. So I can see his influence all over these things. These are so fucking funny. And so what are some of the characters we're looking at?
Well, so like Scott, for example, we decided to call him Vagabond. He's a traveler throughout the country. And one of the reasons why he was Vagabond is because we did fallen superheroes together by and large. I mean, some of them he was not in town for, and I shot him here in LA, but we shot a lot of them in California, but I wanted the book to look like it wasn't just shot in California. So I wanted it to look like America. So we shot in New Mexico, where I'm from. We shot a lot in Texas. We shot probably 40-50% of the entire book in Louisiana. And I love Louisiana's aesthetic for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Sort of the white trash, backwoods kind of element.
Yeah.
And we also shot in Florida, and we shot in Illinois. So we shot in a lot of states. And he was with me the whole way. A lot of it was sort of road trip style with a bunch of equipment and stuff, photo equipment and whatnot. But the genesis of the costumes, Scott was so integral, along with his mother. His mother, Connie, who is a professional costumer, and she specializes in
like romance novel covers, right?
novel, period piece type, and also for all the different festivals that happen in New Orleans, like there's Jazz Fest, Mardi Gras, and she makes these overwhelmingly elaborate and beautiful dresses and such. And so I commissioned her to create a lot of the costumes, and she has a treasure trove of props and fabrics and little jewels and oddities and such. And then we also ordered a lot of stuff from China, like weird goggles, and we ordered a sex suit from Japan and that sort of thing.
That's amazing because that's a huge part of, these costumes are so, when you guys have to look at this site, they're so elaborate. It's a huge part of it. So that's amazing that you had that. And they had her as an ally on your side there. Because this is like, you're talking about, this is like producing a movie pretty much. This is a big project that you guys did.
Yeah, I got the deal through a publishing company out in Chicago, Medallion Press, and we had
You pitched to them, and then they...
First,
before
the
you did
genesis
it?
of the project is a long story, kind of boring, but essentially I shot a lot of their nonfiction book covers.
Okay.
So they do sort of self-help books, or I survived cancer type books, and I would go and photograph, like the cover and the inside fold photo for their books, and then I kind of became friends with Adam Mock, who's a co-writer of the book. Who's amazing and hilarious and bizarre in his own right. And we became friends. And me and Scott had shot a fallen superhero. Just me and him, we did this character called Viking Hawk. And Viking Hawk's, basically he had problems because he didn't know if he was going to be Hawk Viking or Viking Hawk. And he was always indecisive. And he also couldn't fly without making a double chin. He had to put his chin down. And so he was like very self-conscious, flying in to save people with a double chin. And so we did this sort of fictitious thing where he's like picking gum off his shoe on the side of the road, because you never see superheroes doing mundane things, staring at the window, yelling at a kid at their yard, or taking gum off their shoe, or taking a piss, and that sort of thing. So I had just talked to Adam Mock in passing, showed him that photo, said it would be an interesting book to make, and he goes, yeah, it would. And then I forgot that I'd even pitched it, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then several months later, he just texted me and asked if I wanted to do the book. So I said, of course. And so, we discussed the terms of the book and whatnot, but part of the terms was that we do it in 2 years. And and there was a maximum, I forget the exact page count, but we had to do a maximum page count of like 100 pages, no more than 300 pages. Okay. And so I was like super nervous just to get the 100 pages. I was like nervous.
So you had to get at least 50 characters or so?
Well, so we ended up doing 26 superheroes, each one having 6, 7, 8 shots, depending on how interesting or how many cool photos we had, which far exceeded my goal of just getting maybe, I don't even know, like 10 superheroes or something.
Okay.
So for the first several months, I spun my wheels trying to figure out how to get it off the ground, who to photograph, how to get the costumes made. And then Scott Perry really helped me kick it into high gear, because he's like, if you know the guy, which a lot of people kind of do, oddly enough, like he's the kind of guy who could drink a half a fifth of whiskey and feel great at 7 a.m. and get up and keep charging on, where I'm hungover, sludging about.
I have done almost exactly that and seen that. So
yeah. And so he's just like, let's go, march on, blah 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 blah. And he's just always on the phone talking to people. I know this person, and he just produces like to know he's got energy to no end.
Yeah.
And so like he was a huge part of this project.
So did you guys know where you were going when you're going to all these states and places? Did you just drive around and look for things? Did you sort of actually have some sort of a location scout of some kind?
Well, what we would do is,
you cast people in different states, like
we would drive. Like if one of my favorite characters is Manorexic in the book. I'll fast forward the Manorexic. This is Doug Jones, and there's Manorexic. Manorexic is a man who, in real life, is 6'11" and 190 pounds. I outweigh the guy, and I'm 6 foot. He's like,
I think I'm 190.
Yeah, he's free. I'm 200 and some, 210, 15, and I'm 6 foot. He's 6'11", 190. He's freakishly tall and skinny, and
so is Doug Jones.
Doug Jones is freakish in other wonderful ways as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
His ability to
the best ways
to move his body and contort and
yeah, he's amazing.
We were in Louisiana, a small town, at a bar, and Scott's like, I have some friends coming over because Scott grew up in Louisiana. In walks Manorexic. I'm like, who the hell is this freak? I mean, literally freak of nature. We had already had a costume made that I had in my truck for somebody else, and we had him put it on. And the way he looked in it was just it just came alive. He's very elastic looking, very superhero-esque in a very comical way. And somehow he kind of turned in a lot of ways to being like the hero of the book, because he is just he's just so freaky looking and also a superhero.
These guys look like fucking like Pixar characters or something.
Yeah. But when we found him, then we create the story around him and also what we have access to. So we can't say, okay, I want to have him getting onto a Learjet at LAX, because we just can't acquire that location. So we basically had to find locations that were cinematically beautiful or interesting in some way. It doesn't have to be beautiful in sort of a naturalistic way. It could be like just white trash mobile home. It could be beautiful with the right light coming through the trees.
Right. Or even like that last shot with the old motel or whatever. I actually love that.
Yeah, I love it. I love the aesthetic of American vintage white trash.
There's an instant story in it, you know? Yeah. You know?
And so we would drive around for hours looking at locations, finding out, can we gain access to it? Can we steal it? What time of day does the sun look good? That sort of thing. And we developed a story around our options, not based on, like, we didn't come up with a preconceived story and then find locations afterwards. We basically developed a story on the way. We're like, one of the superheroes, he works on monster trucks. So we're like, okay, we have this other character, she can own a monster truck. So we were just using what was given to us and what we had access to create these fictitious stories that were hopefully funny and also sad at the same time. There's an infinite sadness,
a little melancholy to it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of shame and disappointment, hopefully, laced throughout.
Yeah, I could see that, which I love.
Yeah, so we basically, we found some very bizarre locations. We found a location of a motorcycle gang that was a white supremacist Aryan gang.
A hangout or something?
It was like this guy's house. We didn't realize until afterwards that, because he said, oh yeah, you guys can use, my mobile home as a location. We went and saw it, and then I looked.
Did a bunch of his friends show up?
And a bunch of his friends showed up on these Harleys, and they had this war on the back of their jackets that was white Aryan resistance.
Holy shit.
And I realized real quick, A, I was thankful that I was white, but B, I was like, this can get a little hairy, because they were inside and they were getting high.
Oh boy.
And then I started thinking, they might get too high, think that we're from LA and that we're gay or something.
Yeah, right.
So we're kind of like wrapping it up. We're like, okay, we got the shot. Let's go. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Because
holy shit.
Like in the backwoods of Louisiana.
Wow. That's crazy. So, I'm curious, like how long it would take when you just said like you had to wrap it up and do it. Like you use some sort of a big super fast flash.
Yeah.
Is it a lot of gear and shit that you have to set up, or is it just like one big thing?
No, it's a lot of gear.
A lot of reflectors and stuff and whatever else?
It's not reflectors. They're these, people know photography. It's just a studio strobe light, but they need to be very powerful, and they also need to be mobile, so they're battery powered. So we have the packs. Once the battery dies, you slip out an old battery, slip in a new one, and keep going, and you charge the old batteries.
Yeah.
So we had, now I have more, but we would use probably 500 pounds worth of equipment for each shot, and also
what is it besides
set
the
up
light though?
set up multiple lights, sometimes 6-7 lights,
and they're all timed to be simultaneous.
Yeah, they all sync together. So when you fire the shutter of the camera, within 1/1000th of a second, they all trigger at the exact same time.
So that's how you'll see
and
like
it's all
trees
timed
in the
together.
background lit up a certain way.
Yeah.
Okay. Because my other question about that would be like, did you go to film school?
I did. I
Didn't
do
you study
cinematography as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it SC or?
I went to AFI, the American
AFI.
Film
Okay,
Institute.
AFI. Because of the way that you light this, and I remember that, and I never really knew how you did this. I knew that obviously there was some kind of a flash, the way that it looks, but I always thought, fuck man, if this guy could shoot and make it look like this, you would be like the most in demand motherfucker in commercials, I think, in the planet, and like by tomorrow. And, and then more, but I mean, definitely in that area,
Well, you know what, I do cinematography. I do it commercially.
Yeah, you do.
And a lot of the stuff I do, I'm just not so proud of, just because the commercial's cheesy or whatever. But we have to do that look. What I'm talking about, the overpowering daylight. It's very expensive to do if you did it motion picture wise, because you'd have to have
pretty difficult
10-ton trucks and a lot of 18K HMI, these big lights coming off the trucks and generators and crew. Very expensive endeavor. Whereas in still photography, the lights only have to be really powerful for 1/1000th of a second.
Right.
And so it's just me and a couple guys setting up some lights, and we can create this world that to create that same exact lighting setup would be an immense endeavor. And
but it's possible to replicate it in a lot of cases.
It's possible to some degree. I've talked about it a lot, and as a matter of fact, there's a couple of video shoots where I've done that technique. The thing is that the actors have a hard time acting in front of light that powerful, because for it to be more powerful than the sun by let's say times 3, you have a hard time having your eyes open.
Sure.
You have to wear sunglasses for the most part, or you step into the shot, you do a dance, or you do whatever you're doing and then step out, because you just can't take that level of brightness and heat. It's a lot of heat.
Yeah.
And so it works well for music videos. I actually see it a fair amount in music videos and such, but to do it on a narrative, like in a film or something, the only way you can really do it is to have that sort of style on an interior shot. You can do it with like a day interior and that sort of thing.
Like the one where we don't have it up right now, but where's the one with the real heavy guy in the red outfit? I think he has a beard.
Yeah,
is he on the cover?
Yeah, the cover of the book.
Yeah, he's on the cover.
Is a guy who I love, and his character is fast food.
That's
FF.
him.
FF.
That's such a cool shot, man. So I'm talking about like something like that. You could do like like a commercial, for example.
Yeah. You can totally do that look.
Yeah.
It's not a look that you could do with like a small van full of lights. You'd need, like I said, some pretty powerful lights and such, even to create this look motion picture wise. It's
like stuff out.
It's not like it's not like a little airy light kit of 1,000 watt. You'd need some pretty powerful lights and such.
Do you want to describe this shot? Since we're looking at it, but I'll put it up. Definitely.
Yeah. So if you put up on your blog, it's fast food, and it's actually in real life. It's in his actual office.
It has an FF on his.
Yeah, FF for fast food, and
that's his office
in real life.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's incredible. So we built this costume for a different fellow who we were supposed to shoot on like a Wednesday, let's say. We had set everything up, made arrangements and everything, and then he just didn't show up. Wouldn't answer his phone, went straight to voicemail. So we called a friend of a friend. He had told us that he was going to go to court for a DUI on like the day before. Well, what happened was he was found guilty, and it was he's had multiple in the past. So he was sentenced to either jail or prison. He was sent up north in a bus. So we couldn't shoot him. So we had this costume in our back pocket for a long time. And then Scott Allen Perry, and his brother Ponce have a YouTube following, a fan base, and
pretty big, I think.
Yeah,
right?
big one.
Ponce is kind of a star. Isn't
I mean, they have literally. I mean, as of a couple years ago, they had 120 million hits on YouTube. So
holy crap! I didn't know it was that.
Yeah,
big.
so the totality of their videos, each one having a couple million and whatnot, they had a following and such. And so this guy hit up Scott and asked if he could come over because he was in town, and if Scott and Ponce could sign a headshot. And Scott's like, sure, come on over. And in walks fast food, this guy named Matt Eisen, who's a really awesome dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, Scott, that's him. That's the new
That's
the new fast food. He's way, way, way better than the old guy. And it's kind of insulting to ask a heavyset man if he wants to make fun of himself and put on a skin tight suit and be fast food. So after getting to know him a little bit, we realized that he'd be totally down for it, and he was like, "Of course, it'd be my honor." Blah blah blah. He ended up being a treasure trove of great locations, ideas, and such. He lives in a town called Lake Charles, which is on the way from Houston into New Orleans, and we ended up staying with him for a couple of days in his mobile home, and we also shot in there. And I had asked him, I said, do you have any sort of old school kind of rundown locations that would work well in my book, blah blah blah? And he goes, no, everything I have is very upstanding and nice. So I go, well, let's go check it anyways. And we go to his place of work, and he has it's like a big auto body shop, mechanic shop, where they make monster trucks. And
wow, that's perfect.
These big ass monster trucks, the real deal ones. And
that's his business.
Yeah, and they modify trucks, and they even have a monster Cadillac. It's amazing. And so, and
picture of that. Anyway,
I do in the book.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, I go, oh, this is incredible. I mean, wood paneling, deer heads, Confederate flag. A coffee mug that says "Big Boss."
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
you got to put this
wood
up for
panel.
Yeah,
flag. Couple deer heads.
Yeah, so we
what is that, like a mayonnaise jar full of change or something?
We didn't really modify hardly anything in there. Yeah.
And he's got like a bandolier full of beer cans. I think, is that what that is?
Those are actually Diet Cokes.
They're Diet Coke.
Everyone thinks it's beer, but it's
Oh, it's like, so he's making his comeback. Is that what the deal is?
Well, in our fictitious world is that he's heavyset, but he's so fast that he basically skids past where he's trying to land in danger, and he, the deception is that he's 450 pounds, 500 pounds, but he moves at the speed of light and actually zips past. He hasn't honed his skills as much.
Okay. All right.
But we did a shot of him outside of a stadium where he locked his keys in the car, and it's like there's a really sad sort of vibe.
Well, he has that melancholy kind of vibe in that cover shot too. But yeah, this is obviously another. You capture funny and sad really well in the same sort of paradox.
The photo, we did a photo which I need to add to my website ASAP. Is of him in his kitchen. And so in our book, he basically loves heavy metal, which is true in real life, and also he enterprises by infusing vodka into tampons and selling them at the high schools at the football games.
That's how he moonlights.
That's how he makes money. Yeah, he moonlights selling those little baggies. He slings baggies of
which they then
vodka infused tampons.
Then insert.
Yeah,
which I've heard actually happens.
The genesis of the idea was we were sitting doing the shot in his kitchen, and I'm like, it's just too on the nose to have him eating hamburgers, or what is he doing at this table? And then
he's infusing tampons.
So I went on to
I
jumped on my phone and I went on to MSN.com, and I read this article about how there's this epidemic of girls getting alcohol poisoning by putting too much vodka in themselves, because they're, if you go a breathalyzer, the alcohol does not show up in the breathalyzer. So they go to football games and such, and they're trashed, but it doesn't show except for a blood test. And I was like, that's it.
Jesus,
He's the guy. He makes vodka infused tampons and sells them, and that was. And it was kind of funny. It kind of worked.
Kind of funny. I can't. Yeah. Sometimes shit's so funny I can't laugh.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting here like with my jaw dropped. Yeah, like I can't even believe that.
So, yeah, the Fallen Superheroes was one major project that I had done, and it, the lighting style also translates into my everyday work that I do.
Right. So and. Here we go. Oh, there's Ponce in the background.
Yeah, there's Scott laying there dead in my backyard.
Oh, those are his feet?
Yeah.
So, I've noticed you've kind of started to venture into some celebrity photography lately in the last... Oh, there's Ponce.
The celebrity stuff that I do...
Who have you done so far? Just off the top of your head.
Well, I did the Fast and some... So I like doing key art. It's called key art. It's like poster art for... TV shows, movies, also for theme park rides for Universal. It's basically you shoot a whole bunch of elements and then it's composited into a poster. Most TV show, movie posters that you see a celebrity pointing a gun and acting cool, but by and large it's probably a body double, and they just do a head strip of an actor. They just put on a celebrity's head.
Really? That's pretty common?
Yeah. I would say it's very common.
Really?
Probably 80% of the time when you see a movie poster, it's not really their body. It's a body double.
They never even took the time
to do it. And they do a head
it.
strip on, So I've been doing that. I did, for example, I did the Fast and Furious. I shot like The Rock and Vin Diesel.
Oh, yeah, there's Vin Diesel.
Michelle Rodriguez, like Tyrese. I've shot... I don't know, various rock stars. I shot like one of the funniest ones is hold of a sudden, hang on a sec.
Have you had people?
So I shot Carmelo Anthony for the NBA All-Star break. Oh, yeah. Martin Sheen, which was awesome to photograph.
Yeah,
because
I saw that somewhere. How did that happen?
It was for a.
There's The Rock.
It was for a charity, for a veterans charity.
Oh yeah, there he is. Okay. Oh, okay.
And I always kind of liked him, and it was kind of like a really good get for me to photograph him. My favorite celebrity portrait ever, though, is I photographed David Lynch.
Oh my God, I don't think I've seen that. You are perfect. Holy shit, that's amazing.
And I love David Lynch. Always have respected him in every way, and I kind of got to know him a little bit, and he ended up inviting me over to his house a couple times.
Coffee and cigarettes.
Literally, I mean, I don't smoke cigarettes just because I hate them. I'm not a prude, but yeah, coffee, cigarettes. I actually have a light that he saw and liked, and he borrows it from time to time. It kind of does lightning strikes. It kind of gives the effect that lightning shooting through the window.
Dude, that's amazing.
Living in this basically
town,
what he would say, he would have his assistant call and say, ask if he could rent it was called the 1600 pack. I said, you're damn right he can. He goes, well, he'll give you money. I'm like, no. And he's like, I'll send a PA over to get it. I'm like, no, I'm in the neighborhood. I'll drop it off.
Yeah.
Because I want to hang with David Lynch.
Sure,
I love David Lynch. And he's just, he was, like an incredible dude. He, one thing I like about David Lynch, being around him, is that he says hi to everyone and knows everyone's name. There could be a janitor emptying trashes on the soundstage. Knows them, knows their family, goes up and talks to them. He's equally impressed.
It's not a forced modesty.
Yeah, he's equally impressed with the PA as he is an executive coming in. He probably likes the PA more, actually. It just seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting is like a couple of my favorite movies in my top 10 of all time.
Up to the.
Thanks. Yeah. He just reminded me to keep the mic up. Are a couple of his, but they're not the typical Lynchian movies. It's The Straight Story and
The Straight
the
Story.
Elephant Man.
Yeah, like the guy on the lawnmower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very weird. I saw that movie a long time ago.
I love that movie. It's
a lot of people hate that movie, but I
don't. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
As is actually The Elephant Man.
Yeah,
Yeah, but those aren't really the ones that you think of when you think of David Lynch. People get in, you just think of the weird midgets and dream sequences.
Yeah, you think of Mulholland Drive.
Right, exactly. But that's, I was going to say, living in this town and doing what we do, you meet a lot of people, familiar faces, or you at least see them, you run into them.
Yeah.
David Lynch is one guy that I think I'd be a little bit starstruck by, and maybe not starstruck, but just like, cause it's just like I have so much, I'm so fascinated by him,
I mean, absolutely. He's definitely, there's a couple of people that I've actually seen in real life and have gotten star-fucked over.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, like you don't really care or whatever, but
yeah,
I did that one time with Dr. Dre. I saw him and I got star-fucked. But David Lynch, oddly enough, he has a calming kindness to him where you don't feel, he doesn't roll with an entourage, and
right.
he's just a dude who's like really smart and a great filmmaker, but he doesn't have that nervousness like with him,
right,
to create that.
It's very disarming.
There's some celebrities that have entourages and this and that, act weird, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he has that. Like when like the day that I did this shot. He goes, "Hey, Eric," with that voice, "Eric, fucking A, drinks Starbucks all day. Wears the same outfit, by the way, every single day.
White collar shirt and a black jacket.
Not the same exact shirt, but he has rows of them in his. And he's like, "Fucking A, Eric. I just got a new car. You want to check it out?" And I'm thinking to myself, like, probably some nice Mercedes,
right.
maybe a Bentley. Right. And I go outside, and it's one of those Scion XB minivans.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Serious. And he's like, "I fucking love it. It's just amazing." Show me the features of this like $19,000 Scion, and that's how he rolls.
That's
man.
Amazing.
That's what, yeah. So
that's super cool. Yeah, that has to be a highlight moment right there. And then we discussed, I don't think we were recording. We just talked for a couple minutes before we started, but we have another mutual friend who is also on the show, Doug Jones.
Love Doug Jones.
You have to love Doug Jones.
Yeah.
He might be the nicest guy on the planet. It might be him.
I've never met anyone who's like, "I don't really like Doug Jones." Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the sweetest guy on the planet Earth, I think.
And him too, like David Lynch, it's not fake.
No.
Yeah.
See, I know him because we met on, once again, Scott Allen Perry. It's inevitable. He has to do this fucking show now. We've talked about him too much. The mystery's like Kaiser Soze or something.
Totally.
So he did a short film with that I was in, that Doug was in. He wanted to put Doug had done some work, but he wasn't the famous Pan's Labyrinth and all this stuff.
At that point, he'd been like in Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, a couple things, but nobody really knew him yet. And so Scott wanted him in something as himself, without a ton of latex on his face and shit. So we met there, and like you said, you have to like Doug Jones. So we became pretty good buddies, and his film was good, and went on to like all these festivals. We went to Palm Springs together and everything.
Side Effects.
Yeah, Side Effects. I'll post that up again. So I'm saying this because I knew Doug before he has become like basically the new Lon Chaney, everybody knows who this guy, the most famous guy who you might not recognize in the world is probably Doug Jones.
Yeah, it's come to the point with Doug Jones that I can't even keep up with the blockbuster films and TV shows that he does.
It's a barrage, right?
Keep up at this point.
Yeah. So, but he's exactly the same now as he was then, and sweet as can be. And so we talk about him because you did, and I think that might be my first exposure to you and your work was the Mime book. I don't remember which one was first, that or the superhero one.
Oh, the Mime book was the first book we did, though.
That was the first.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first, and I've seen some of the shots, but I haven't seen the whole book. But that's how I was kind of exposed to you. And so it's all Doug Jones as a mime in that book?
Yeah, this book was done literally, I forget if it was 2 or 2.5 days. We shot 87 different lighting setups, like granted all in a studio. Mm-hmm. But it is Doug Jones playing all these different characters, from Michael Jackson to Muhammad Ali to Gandhi. I don't even know if he's in Gandhi actually, but it's just like the guy can transform into all these characters, and then there's a little story, and it has something to do with the word mime in it, because he was a mime. Doug Jones got his start
in
as
college
a mime.
Or something, right? Yeah,
he would work on the side as a mime, and then that's kind of how he parlayed himself into this sort of character actor where he can be an alien and be slinky and slimy and crawl and whatever. And so it was all him sort of in mime face, playing all these different characters that also were funny.
He does all those characters in mime face.
In mime face, but then different wardrobes. And
wow,
such.
see, I didn't know that's what it was.
I mean, some of it was very distasteful. So Doug Jones in a mime face with a Hitler mustache doing the Hitler salute, and it's mime comp.
Well, come on,
but
it is if you don't have a sense of humor.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, some people,
yeah.
Obviously, you did it, so
I mean,
holy
we
shit,
did it tongue in cheek. Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, I just noticed. Yeah, Malcolm McDowell. That's
He's
crazy.
awesome.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
No, so we developed a friendship from that, and just Doug Jones is just, over the years, we don't hang out that much, but
he's a busy guy.
But when we do, it's a big hug and such because he's
so much love for that guy. It felt so good to, and maybe you can listen to it. I think it's going to be out next week. So, but anyway, it's whatever. Whoever's listening, the order doesn't matter. But we caught up. Like he wanted to talk and catch up first, but we just did it on the mic. Mm-hmm. And he's just honestly, you guys, he's such a sweet guy, and I think it was a really sweet talk, just because, he's just all love, man. This guy's he's the best. He's the best, and I couldn't be happier that someone like him has got that much success.
And he also, like you would never know it. He lives in a suburban home in Santa Clarita, and I don't know what car he's driving now, but as of a little while ago, he was driving like a 1992 V6 Mustang that was beat up and ugly. And him and his wife collect like angel trinkets.
Uh-huh.
So the house is laced with those sort of like Hallmark angel trinkets.
Yeah,
kind of
he's
thing.
got like the kind of house that you might have like one of those like sterling silver spoon collections or something.
Yeah. Totally.
You know what I mean?
And like a set of encyclopedias because they were too nice to the guy at the door.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And so we actually shot his character by and large inside the house of his house, and his character Healing Feet Angel was derived from the fact that he has so many angels. So we that's how the character for Doug Jones for Fallen Superheroes came to be.
So I'm obviously going to put links up, Amazon links or whatever to these books, because seriously, people need to buy these books. These are really, really, really good. Really, really cool. And unique. No, it's okay. They are, man. They fucking are. And I'm saying this as we just mentioned Malcolm McDowell. You shot Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Which, that's huge.
I've always loved Malcolm McDowell, and I really loved him in Entourage. as sort of the cocksucker power agent that was...
By the way, I say who this is because I'm sure a lot of millennials out there, I don't know if you know what Clockwork Orange is. If you don't, please look it up. But he's the main guy in that movie. So that's Malcolm McDowell.
Plus he's had an illustrious, career through
as
time and
cocksucker
such.
Agent.
But he's just, he has a look on his face that's just timeless and cinematic. And
it looks like he may have taken a big bite of shit.
Yeah, totally. Love him.
Whoa, Danny
Glover. But Larry Flint,
wow.
I photographed Larry
I've seen
Flint.
that one. Yeah.
Larry Flint was a hoot.
How did that happen?
Oddly enough, there was an ad agency that hired me to photograph. He has the Hustler Casino. Mm-hmm. He's got a couple of them. He's got one in Vegas. And he has that one that's sort of like in the South Bay. Uh-huh. And so I shot some of their advertising of just people laughing and winning,
Okay.
Heads
rock back.
But they said, we don't have a photo of Larry Flint smiling.
And we
looking
want,
at the camera,
a Richard Avedon court sort of style.
Looking at him, like looking at the camera and smiling. Uh-huh. And so they're like, we need to do a special shoot in his office because he won't go anywhere else. He won't travel, whatever. I want to go to his office. Are you kidding me? That place on Wilshire and
the Flint building. Yeah,
the Flint building, and we just need a portrait of him actually smiling, and that was very difficult. And he's looking off a lot or not smiling.
So they wanted it, but he wasn't on board with that.
And my the makeup artist that I hired, this girl Haley, who's hilarious, told him a joke, very off-color joke about anal sex, and he laughed. And for 3 frames, we got him smiling at the camera, so it totally worked.
You got it. That is a Larry Flint smile right there.
Well, this is not the smiling shot. I actually didn't like. If you notice, no one smiles on my website. I don't like photos where people are smiling.
Yeah.
for my own personal work.
Yeah.
So he didn't really say, when he's talking, you don't know if he's talking to you or he's talking to his bodyguard, because he's not really addressing you specifically, and he kind of, his eyes are wandering. So the whole time he's talking, you don't know. And even if you do answer the question, he doesn't acknowledge that you've answered the question. So you're not certain if he has understood what you're doing. So anyway, there's a weird, awkward silence. We didn't take into account that he's in a wheelchair, so we laid out seamless backdrop paper onto carpet, so he's crinkling and tearing the paper up, which is awkward and embarrassing. And there's these odd silences where he kept wanting us to like go in the other room for some privacy and such. So we go in, we come back out, and we're starting to photograph him, and out of nowhere he goes, "I have a joke. I have a fucking joke." And we're like, okay.
Was this after the butt sex joke?
Yeah, this after the butt sex joke. There was a couple more shots with like him and his wife and such. Okay. And we're like, "What's the joke?" And he goes, "What do 9 out of 10 people enjoy?" And we're like, "What?" And he goes, "Gang rape." Ha, 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 ha. And I was like, ah! And I didn't, I didn't know what to laugh or what, but
that is amazing.
That was the icing on the cake of that shoot for sure.
Holy shit! It's only funny that he said that.
You can omit that from.
No, is that Bourdain? Oh, yeah. It is.
You can omit that from.
Nothing is omitted.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm a fan of Anthony Bourdain, by the way. I like his. Where's Perry? I like his show. Oh yeah,
Tommy Lee, which was fun shoot.
Oh yeah, I bet that was kind of crazy.
But there's a portrait I did just real quick of my favorite portrait ever is Scott Allen Perry. I know we talked about Scott Allen Perry. We have to post photos and show this. This is a photo that I insist that you put on the blog. Scott Perry and Leah's.
It's a 70s Vanity Fair cover.
It's a portrait of him and his wife for their engagement announcement.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to send 6 to 8 shots of your choice. This obviously has to be one of them. I can't begin to describe this to you guys other than maybe it's a bare-chested Perry with flowing locks and a nice 1981 porn mustache, and his lovely wife with a Revlon.
But the look on his face is so sincere.
Oh yeah, he's looking right into your soul.
Yeah. But anyway. There's not much to talk about until you see it visually. But anyway, it's one of my favorite portraits. I had it printed large. It's in my house.
As you should. You should have that in your bedroom.
Staring at me all the time.
Maybe on the ceiling.
Totally.
It's amazing. What do you got cooking now, man?
You
seem like you're pretty busy with all this.
I want to march on a lot with my own personal work on days off. I just did just because, you can't be stale. You can't die on the vine if an ad agency, like an art director from an agency or whoever looks at your website and you have the same work up. What is it that you want to do? I like, for a living, I like doing advertising. More than anything else. People hate advertising for the most part, but I feel like it's a good venue to be creative. Even though, I shot the Muppets, which was really cool.
That's cool.
But I feel like you can be creative with advertising. I watch TV commercials and I look at print ad work all the time, posters, magazines, and see a lot of creative work. There's a lot out there. And there's a lot of non-creative work as well.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you can find it in design or ad magazines or websites that feature the best ads, but they're not often usually the ones that are really actually run that much.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of nervousness. There's a lot of playing safe out there. Yeah,
there's a lot of nervousness involved.
At least in this country.
Where the ad agency and the client starts to think about the bottom line. They start to freak out about someone who's more up from them thinking that it might be too risque or too dark or offend. The whole offend thing is just outrageous. What you can't.
Well, it's completely. And it's ironic because these are usually the award-winning ones that don't really get the play.
Yeah. There's like
There's ones for the real, and then there's ones for the market.
I shoot a lot of, I don't really post anywhere. No one really knows. I shoot like casino advertising, and I also shoot a lot of toy commercials, more specifically like for Mattel, like the WWE ones where it's like the action figures, like the Rubin Wranglers, and they have, all of the the male action figures, right? And so I never am called for like a Barbie or a girl thing, because that's a different genre of lighting. Mm-hmm. But they say the same thing to me every time. They're like, we went on your website, we went on your, and we want it to look like, and they'll have a reference. We want it to be dark and moody. We want a lot of colored backlights. We want it to be like, you're ringside at a 70s WWE or back then WWF.
Right.
And then you get there and you do it, and they're like, we need it to be brighter. It's always, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Then you just like open the lights up, make it flat and bright, because
homogenized,
and just because that's what that's what has guaranteed to sell, and they're afraid that, I don't know, some little snowflake kid might find it offensive.
Yeah.
It's scary, or it's dark, or so.
That's too bad. But you can continue to do like you were just saying. You wanted to do stuff on your own, right? Like in your off time or whatever.
Yeah, I love doing my personal work, which generates new work for the for advertising. Like I just did something in my backyard the other day for Thanksgiving, for Valentine's Day. No one's seen it before till tomorrow, but it's just like you can create
so surreal,
sort of fun and sad. There's a girl who's, probably you consider thin adjacent, staring off with a thing of balloon, like a Valentine balloons, and she's been rejected or something.
Yeah.
With garish makeup. And it's not necessarily like I love you. It's more of a vague to the story, but you basically don't know what's happening, but it's not good.
No, and
what's happened to her.
It's very alienating and in the background, very lonely, and kind of has like this existential loneliness, in the background.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of that in your stuff, actually, which I love. Actually, are you a fan of the Coen Brothers at all?
Are you kidding me? I love the Coen Brothers.
Yeah. Have they informed? Do you think they've informed you a little bit?
Absolutely.
I feel like I see some of that there. I am too. I'm a huge.
The cinematographer Roger Deakins, who does the majority of their work, it's just like. Well, everything is just luscious.
He's a god among men, though.
Yeah, luscious. Like No Country for Old Men is just.
That is my favorite movie.
It's a Bible.
It's my favorite movie.
Because it's like his cinematography on that movie doesn't really stand out. It just tells the story so well. It's this luscious lighting, and it's almost like the lighting you can smell. If you see some light and you're like, I can almost see what it smells like in the room.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
And I like how dark they go. They go
absolutely
dark,
Me too.
I remember,
as do you.
Yeah, my mom's from New Mexico. I'm from New Mexico, and she still lives in New Mexico, and she's actually on the film. She was on the film commission in New Mexico and such, and so I was like, Mom, you got to see this movie. That the film commission was a part of, to shoot the movie. They shot it in and around Albuquerque and also in Santa Fe and the surrounding areas, but it was shot in Albuquerque.
Like, you talking about No Country?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was in Texas or something.
Well, it was set in El Paso area, but it was actually shot in Albuquerque.
Okay.
And so I grew up in Albuquerque, so when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh my God, there's the Tradewind Motel, or I used to party on that street or whatever. And but even though it was set in El Paso, and my mom watched the movie and got out of the movie, and she was like legitimately mad. She goes, God damn it, Eric. Why did you have me watch that movie? Like, it had haunted her to the core. She's like, that man was so mean to people. And I'm like,
it was a very scary movie. When I saw it in the theater, it really got to me.
It
really got to me. And I think it's, whatever. I think it's flawless. I actually think it's a flawless movie.
I like how
I'll go that far with it.
Like the opening scene where he I'm spacing his name all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Sugar?
Yeah, chokes out
the deputy or whatever.
Chokes out the deputy. Like most filmmakers wouldn't hold on a wide shot to watch the entire death happen, and the sort of sadness and him struggling and choking and dying. It was like it was very impactful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I'm a huge fan.
And then at the end of the movie, just to finish the bookend, I was there's a scene. Tommy Lee is in that kitchen area talking, like the last shot of the movie, and he's
talking about the dream.
He's talking about the dream and such. And I'm looking out the window, and I was technically thinking about how they did the shot. I'm like, did they put neutral, like this kind of filter on the window, and what kind of light's coming through? And then the movie ended.
Yeah.
And the movie ended so abruptly, but I kind of like that. It wasn't
I loved it.
Like the ending was abrupt.
Yeah, and it was on a note that was very existential, like a lot of their movies are,
and unresolved.
Yeah. I fucking love it, dude. That's a whole different thing that we can talk about.
Yeah, we can talk. Yeah.
But no, I'm glad we did though, because I mean that's literally my favorite movie. And
yeah, there's a lot of movies that influence my my still photography style.
So Coen Brothers are there for sure.
For sure. I mean, I love almost everything that they do, and also the movie Drive.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. That too. It was like it is light that wouldn't exist in any world.
Not in reality.
And it was, and
but
like
it's reality I want to be in.
And they didn't care.
You know,
they just had a magenta, window light coming through and backlighting them for no reason. There wasn't a justification. There wasn't a motivation for the light. But it just made the movie look good. There was a lot of backlights that just didn't make sense. There's like most movies, when you watch a movie, there's a backlight, but you're like, okay, because there's a street light or
it's
something.
Interesting that you say that, because like for me, it's it's a reality that isn't real, but I love being in it, watching it. But there's a feeling that it creates that's very specific to Los Angeles, I think, that isn't necessarily how it really looks, but it's about that seedy underworld of LA, which there is a large one in MacArthur Park and whatever. And that look being, having a surreal quality or whatever you want to call it, it made me feel that seediness that is real.
It puts you in that world for sure.
That dark underworld of that. LA has a huge one, and people don't think of. Usually they think of that whole Hollywood.
They think of palm trees. And,
exactly. But most of LA is more kind of like that.
Like when you go to MacArthur Park, that's that's real.
Yeah,
LA
you can
right
step on a needle or something.
Yeah. The other, just I don't know how much more time we have, and I got to wrap it up.
We should wrap it up. We should wrap it up pretty soon.
But I'm from New Mexico, but my favorite show is Breaking Bad, and it's not just because I'm from there, but as that show started to progress and get, what I would consider to have more and more budget, each season they just kick, the cinematography in Breaking Bad is just amazing in my book. Michael Slovis, who's the cinematographer for the large majority of it.
I was going to say it's the same guy?
Well, he was it for let's call it 80%. I don't even know the exact stats, but then towards the end there, he started directing a lot of them. Okay. And, but his cinematography style just kept marching on, and I just love the way that Skyler and Walter's house look. It was just like they would just stand with their face in total silhouette, but have a crushing top light blaring the top of their head. And CBS, ABC, and NBC would never be so ballsy as to go that dark. Yeah, that obscure with the lighting, and just how the lighting. And that show gives me a lot of ideas for my still photography.
So we're going to start wrapping it up. And on that note, a couple things. You said you're going to do some personal stuff. I wanted you to mention, by name your books and stuff and where to find them, of course, before we go. But then also if you had anything else specific that's coming up or anything that you want to talk about.
Most of the stuff I have coming up that's professional work is literally something kind of boring. I shoot. It's not even really worth, but the Hewlett Packard.
Maybe you want to do then. Maybe it's not even concrete.
So I have some boring advertising work coming up, because sometimes I get really psyched with advertising work, like the Fast and Furious. Yeah. I did the Harry Potter ride advertising, and that let me go crazy and dark. I did the Grinchmas advertising, also can get a little weird, but some of the stuff I'm just not that excited about. But on my personal work, I'm really into creating. I want to do sort of scenarios where it's up to the viewer to decide what's happening. Interesting. And nothing is explained. You don't know why they're there and what's happened and why that person's looking at this person and why is that person on the ground, that sort of thing.
Maybe a little more noirish and a little less comedic? Or?
Yeah, there's a photographer named Gregory Crutzen.
I was just thinking of that, but I wasn't going to say it.
You know, every person has idols, and everyone, their work is influenced by certain people, and then by the time they do it, it's totally different. Like, me and Gregory Crutzen's work looks a lot different, but his circumstances and scenarios.
What you just described,
that's
and
what I love that element where you can turn a page of one of his photos, and everyone would have a different guess to what's happening.
Yeah, and I could look at it for an hour.
And he's incredible.
Yeah.
But like the photo, if you go to ericcurtisphoto.com and go to environmental portrait page, the first photo is of the aftermath of a murder, and there's 6 people in the shot, 1 dead, and you're left wondering why, and like what was the circumstances that led up to it.
Yeah.
And it's just entitled "The Family."
Story.
And so you can make up your own story, and I like being unresolved with it.
Yeah, I love that. It's one of my favorite things about a lot of movies in the 70s, for example.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of an ambiguous story. That's amazing.
And so, I'm going to march on with that, but I also try and showcase my lighting because even though it's my personal work, then I try and get professional jobs to keep the lights on from the new work. And so it's in the style in which I want to keep working professionally. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so maybe the best way to follow you and keep track of you would be your Instagram, I'm assuming, yeah? Yeah,
I've really started to try and do the Instagram more. I actually have I hired a person that sounds like a sellout who's really good at doing the Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And she's help boost it because I'm just not good at coming up with cheesy captions. I just can't do it. I have a hard time saying stuff about my own work.
What's
and
the right
really good
hashtag?
At the hashtag, researching the newest hashtags and all that shit. So,
what's the handle? Eric Curtis?
It's just Eric Curtis Photo.
Is the
Instagram. Is the Instagram handle.
So make sure to go to that.
So it's ERICCURTISPHOTO.
Go there.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Good talking to you.
It was a good talk.
And I can't wait to see your new shit. So we'll be in touch.
Yeah, and I want to hear one with Scott Allen Perry.
I hope, Scott, this is the second call out. You got a show, man.
Yeah.
Or maybe even the 3 of us at some point we can do it.
Good idea there.
All right. And whiskey.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you, man. Bye now.
Bye-bye. So that was Eric Curtis, you guys. Make sure to go to triumphantdisasterblog.com so you can check out all his links. Definitely follow him on Instagram. It's amazing stuff. He's on ericcurtisphoto.com. So all the links will be there at triumphantdisasterblog.com. And as always, if you like the show, it'd be really helpful if you just took a second to just leave a review on iTunes. Just helps Apple to promote the show. And at triumphantdisasterblog.com, in every blog post, you'll see a PayPal button. Do this on my own dime, so if you can leave something there, I will be more than happy to give you credit on the next show. Just call your name out. Unless you want it to be anonymous, let me know. A review or a donation just really helps keep the show going, and I want to give you guys credit. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Triumph of Disaster.